In January 2025, the UK and France announced that they had been having discussions about sending peacekeeping forces to Ukraine as part of a potential ceasefire deal with Russia. While details remain under wraps, here's what we know so far. They have discussed 3 unique scenarios, each with their own goals and risks. Firstly, there's the idea of general peacekeeping. Then there's the proposal of creating a buffer zone along the Ukraine-Russian border. And finally, the most controversial of the 3, a so-called tripwire force. So let's break down the 3. The first scenario is a classic peacekeeping operation where French and British troops would be deployed to a ceasefire zone to act as security guarantors. Their role would be to monitor and enforce a ceasefire agreement on both sides. This approach is designed to create stability in the immediate aftermath of a ceasefire. Think of it as putting a lock on the front door of peace negotiations, making it harder for either side to break the truce. But here's the challenge. Traditional peacekeeping missions often require cooperation from all parties. Would Russia agree to the presence of Western troops, especially in territory it claims? And that's going to be a major hurdle. The second scenario is the creation of a buffer zone along the Ukrainian-Russian border. This demilitarized area would be enforced by French and British troops to keep the warring sides physically apart. The goal here would be to prevent the accidental clashes and reduce the risk of escalation. But there are significant logistical challenges. How large would the buffer zone need to be? Would Allied troops have the resources to patrol it effectively? And let's not forget, creating a buffer zone along a massive border wouldn't eliminate all risks. Long-range artillery and drone strikes could still breach the area, leaving peacekeepers in vulnerable positions. The third scenario is the most provocative, a tripwire force. This concept combines peacekeeping with deterrence. Allied troops would act as a warning to Russia that any aggression against Ukraine would trigger an immediate and powerful response from the West. This isn't just about monitoring or patrolling. A tripwire force would send a strong signal that any attack on Ukraine risks direct confrontation with Western powers. But the stakes are high. Such a deployment could deter Russia or escalate the tensions further. It is a delicate balancing act, and one wrong move could put the peacekeepers in the crosshairs of a much larger conflict. So while the tripwire force could offer Ukraine unprecedented protection, it also carries a greater risk of escalation, and it's a gamble with enormous consequences. French President Emmanuel Macron is spearheading this initiative, consulting with Ukrainian President Zelensky and Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk. Meanwhile, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer has expressed interest but has not fully committed. During his recent visit to Kiev, Starmer pledged a 100-year partnership with Ukraine, signalling a long-term commitment to its security. However, deploying peacekeepers to an active conflict zone is no easy feat. There are some significant challenges, such as the risk of escalation, where the presence of Allied forces could provoke Russia rather than deter them. The strategic positioning, where exactly would these troops be stationed and what are their rules of engagement, and other legal hurdles. Traditionally, peacekeeping missions need UN approval, which Russia would almost certainly veto. This means the operation would need to bypass the UN framework entirely. And there's another layer to this story. Some see this as a hedge against reduced US support, especially with the Trump administration returning to power. Europe might be preparing to take more responsibility for Ukraine's security. This conversation is happening as Ukraine's potential NATO membership remains a hotly debated topic. For now, France and the UK's plan could represent a middle ground, supporting Ukraine without triggering NATO's direct involvement in the war. While these discussions are in the early stages, they highlight the West's commitment to supporting Ukraine. But will these peacekeeping forces bring stability, or draw Europe into a deeper confrontation with Russia. The stakes couldn't be higher. So what do you think? Is this the right move? Or are France and the UK walking a tightrope over a geopolitical disaster? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more insights. See you next time.